In this video, I want to introduce you to the new features in SHARPEN 6. This is the professional version. There's a lot to discover. I've already uploaded a picture so we can get started quickly. And if we just go over to the top right here and take a look at the interface, we can see there have been some changes here. Over on the very right, for instance, we have the watermark module. That's a new module for adding your own logo. That has its own video, which I'd recommend if you're interested in adding watermarks and logos to your images. For this video, let's switch that off for a moment so we have a bit more space and close the magnifying glass as well. Let's take a look at the interface, and the first thing we notice is that we now have two modes for the interface here. One is compact mode and the other is professional mode. And these two modes allow us either to use the interface with a compact display with a clearer overview, or we can switch on professional mode, which we'll do in a moment once we've sharpened the image up a bit, and we'll be able to see the differences between them. Then we can see the PSF function here, the point spread function for blur analysis. It now has two views for before and after with some new arrows between them. We'll take a closer look at them too. There are new additions for manual directional blur correction. But let's just get started and have a look at the sharpness function to see what exactly has changed. For this drone shot, let's choose category 2, which is the category for blur and camera shake correction. Let's choose set automatically as we know to do, and we get a sharpened image. Let's zoom in a little. Let's take these two vehicles here and have a closer look at them. And if we scroll down a bit more, we can see a new slider here for halo correction. And this is probably one of the most important new features in this program, because we've found a new process that lets us reduce these sharpness halos that occur whenever we sharpen images without losing any significant image sharpness. And what do I mean by that? Let's see what happens when we move the slider to 0. Then we can see that these bright contours appear around the sharpened object. If we turn the sharpness up a little, move up a quality level, then we'll see that much more clearly. These bright contours and dark contours, where we switch from bright to dark. Here the object is quite dark, but the surroundings are bright, so there are bright sharpness halos, which are created by increasing the sharpness. And halo reduction, let's set the value back to 45. Let's reduce these halos without any significant loss of sharpness. We can reduce it even more, of course, but then we lose a bit of sharpness again. Let's right click to view the original image, and now we can see the sharpness with a much higher level of halo reduction. The preset itself was 45 in automatic mode, and this halo reduction makes it possible to minimize these halos. The second really important new slider is down here, smoothing. Let's turn the smoothing right up. Then we can see the image has become smoother overall, which is exactly what smoothing does. If we turn smoothing off, then we get a much grainier result. And this smoothing feature is very different to the denoising setting that we have up here, because denoising works on the source image, on the original image, while smoothing works on the resulting image. And let's just go over it again to see maybe how we can get an even better look here. And since both these values, halo reduction and smoothing, have a very significant impact on the sharpness of the image, we've had to rebuild all the presets accordingly. Let's go over to category 1 for a moment, where we can see all the presets. All these presets had to be completely rebuilt to integrate these two new sliders. That means the entire automatic sharpening feature had to be reconfigured. So you're basically looking at a completely new sharpness program where a huge amount has happened under the hood. To you, it basically looks the same as before. You just see these new sliders, but all the maths takes place under the bonnet without any need for your attention. Of course, there's a whole load of other new features, as I said. We'll look at the arrows in a moment, and we also have multi-directional sharpness here, which is calculated using neural networks. These networks have all been retrained and are now much faster with the same level of quality. They're much faster even if we push it out a little and set it to the highest level. Everything can be calculated pretty quickly. That took a lot longer in version 5 of SHARPEN. We've optimized a lot to make these neural networks smaller while still getting the same quality. Let's turn multi-directional sharpness off again. Now let's see what happens to the interface when we set it to professional mode. We're still in compact mode here. And in professional mode, there's a whole lot more going on. Here we have the color dominance, oversampling. You can switch off the artificial intelligence for multi-directional sharpness. Here are some more new sliders for adjusting the precision of the PSF function, but these are minor changes. Let's set the accuracy to 150%. As you can see, there are some small improvements in quality. So if you want the highest quality, set the precision to 200% here. You can also change the quality mode, and we can see all the extra controls that we can access in professional mode. You can switch between the two modes at any time, and the program also remembers your setting when you exit and automatically sets that mode next time. Now, maybe a little bit of information about super sampling before we take a look at the arrows down here. If we activate super sampling, we can see we now have two different modes here, and these modes are the default mode sharp, and then there is also soft mode. These modes differ with regard to their scaling or how the image is enlarged and reduced, which is required for super sampling. To explain that briefly again, if we set super sampling to 2x, the original image is enlarged to twice its area, then sharpened, and the result is scaled down again, and the result is, let's reset that for now, that we get softer, more appealing contours. If we set it to 2x again, we can see contours are smoother. And if that's still too sharp for us with this scaling method, we can switch to soft scaling, which makes the image scaling a little softer on the eye. You can switch between these methods at any time. Now let's switch off super sampling again, and let's quickly change the image through the history viewer, because I've brought a special image for this manual direction correction. Let's zoom in on a specific area, and here we can see that there's some lateral blurring. Let's start by sharpening it up with category 2, blur and camera shake correction, or maybe we can use the general image sharpness with haze and fog correction. This is the result we get, which we just calculated and sharpened using this PSF function, or this blurring distribution. And we can see that a kind of double edge has been created here, which shows through a little, and we can see that the blurring itself has happened towards the right. So the camera shake was from left to right. And we can now manually overwrite that. So let's say we want an additional manual correction to the right, because that's where the blurring, the camera shake has occurred. And then we can add this blur correction to the PSF function and get an image with much better sharpness. If we now correct the blurring to the left, we can see that the effect is even more pronounced. So you have to choose the right direction, and that's why there are 8 directional arrows. You can only choose one of them at a time, because the blurring only ever occurs in one direction. Let's go back in the right direction. We can combine that with the quality modes to get a bit more out of it. We're shown a message warning us it will take a bit longer in Pro Plus mode. And if we now compare the original by right-clicking with the result, we can see it looks much, much better. This manual directional blurring can be further corrected with halo reduction, with smoothing, with everything we see here, and can also be combined with the multi-directional sharpening. So you still have the option of combining everything with everything else. You can choose to switch the interface between Pro and Compact mode at any time. That's all up to you. And these arrows, let's lower the quality a bit to make it a bit faster. These arrows also have a circle in the middle, which I'd like to show you with the picture we were using earlier, our drone shot. Let's turn directional blur off, choose the correct blurring category, correct manually. Now let's take a look at another couple of cars, it doesn't matter which ones. And the circle in the middle adds an additional circle to this blur correction. That's why the icon is a circle to the blurring function, which corrects the blur even more. We see that more clearly in higher quality modes. I've selected the quality mode Pro Plus and now select this additional blurred mess that I like to call it, which is then corrected a little more. So these are the main enhancements in the sharpening module. There really have been a lot of changes. Apart from that, we've got a whole range of enhancements in the modules, which you can find in the other videos. For example, we've made numerous enhancements in the RAW module. Here in the palette section, for instance, we now have sliders for saturation, brightness, and color tone. They can all be controlled individually. The Protect Image Areas section has loads of new area protection variants, including 3D area protection variants, where you can protect the foreground and background, because the program automatically generates a depth map for your image when you load a picture. You'll briefly be shown a message in a progress bar to say a depth map is being generated with AI. And these AI functions are now available in a number of different modules, including in area protection. Here, for instance, we could say to sharpen only the front or only the back of the image, and further down here are combined variants. Variants where you can protect smooth areas in near field or front field areas. You can try all that out for yourself. There are enhancements in selective drawing. There's now a 3D light module. There's also a separate video for that. So there's a whole lot more to discover. The main focus of this video is on the new features in the sharpness area, which is, of course, the most important area for you. I hope I've managed to give you a little insight here and stoke your interest a bit. Have fun trying it out and see you next time.